Hello, and welcome to my 10th season as host of The Valley today. For those who have been with me all along, thank you for hanging in there. It's great to be here with all of you. And for those who are just joining us, buckle up. I am Janet Michael, and I've got some great things in store for this upcoming year. I've given the podcast cover art a bit of a makeover. I'm working on adding some video pieces to the show and maybe perhaps a spinoff weekend edition. Stay tuned for more on that in June. But for today's show, we are on the Zooms with Gina Hilliard. She is president of the Luray-Page Chamber of Commerce. We are talking money with her guest. Gina, spring has sprung. I think the last conversation we had, we were talking about how crazy cold it was. And just like that, spring is here.
Which is my favorite. Warmer weather is here, headed into the summer, so I'm super excited. Coming out of the winter and being all dreary, now we have warm weather, things are popping, flowers, everything's green. We're busier here in the office as far as visitors, so yes, all things are good.
Well, I am really interested to talk to your guest today. So you've got Mandy Leeth with you. She is a senior financial advisor with Being Financial. And Mandy, this is one of those topics I think that so many people think they know a lot about, and what they know isn't necessarily accurate. So I'm hoping you're going to give us some good advice and some good tips today.
Absolutely. It's so great to be here with you today, Janet. Thank you. And Gina, thank you so much for the invitation. What an exciting time. And you all talking about spring. It's the perfect time to talk about growth. And that's what I do. I grow people's money. So, what a beautiful time to be talking about this.
When you say grow someone's money, I think sometimes people get in a rut and they think this is all I've got, this is all I'm ever going to have, and aren't aware of what the options are to be able to do just that.
Absolutely. A lot of times people look at what they've saved or their nest egg and they think it's a finite number and that once they lock it in or once they retire, that number is never going to change. And I think when you partner with someone and they talk about your risks and your goals and your dreams and where you're headed and how to amplify what you have, there is definitely a worthwhile moment for you to partnership for a pathway forward.
And that's different for different people in the different stages of life that they are. So, for example, my son is 30. His financial planning for retirement is going to look very different than mine at 57.
And when you sit down with someone and you talk about that timeline, that's one of the most important components of what we look at. What I do and the way that I craft it, I look at it as intentional life design. We are not just looking at data, we're looking at dreams. We're looking at goals. We're looking at what that big ticket or big picture item is in the moment and long term, depending on where you are in your timeline. And that affects a lot of different things like the risk you're willing to take. And basically, your value system really comes into play. And so, money, why financial planning matters for you, money is not the goal necessarily, it's part of the process, but freedom, choice, and peace of mind absolutely are.
Tell me a little bit about Being Financial. Give me sort of an overview of the company.
The company itself was founded by Jared Troutman, and we affiliate with both Prudential on the insurance side, and we affiliate with LPL Financial, which is our clearing firm on the clearing side. So we can sell just about anything under the sun that is regulated as long as it's under FINRA. And he created and crafted this concept about making sure your life unfolds on purpose, not by accident, and a nurturing environment where you can really sit down and talk about what matters to you. And so we're creating a lifestyle business as opposed to just looking at data and numbers, as I mentioned before. He is a CFP, a certified financial planner, which is imperative to have on staff when you're working with people's financial plans because it's an additional added layer of, I call it an added layer of genius. So we love working with Jared, and I've got a great team of people. We have a satellite office in New Jersey and then one here actually in the Harrisonburg area, but I like to consider us telewealth. We go everywhere.
That is an upside to the pandemic. I tell people all the time, very few good things came out of COVID, but the ability to talk to people anywhere certainly was an upside.
Yes, and it's been a lot of fun to grow a business that way because you meet people in so many walks of life and you're not limited in who you can speak with and work with.
What are some of the misconceptions that you often hear?
The biggest ones I hear are it's too late or I don't need it. My response to that typically is it's never too late. It's never too late to start planning for your future, and you can absolutely optimize what you've created and create from there. Secondarily, Why a plan? Why growth? Well, big things in life, you don't leave them to chance. In sports, you have a game plan, right? In building, you find a good architect. When you're looking at having a surgical procedure, you got to find the right doctor and the right medical team. Why would your finances or should your finances be any different, especially in your later stages of life? And so that intentional life design, you're not just climbing a mountain. You want to really enjoy the view when you get to the top. And so I get very excited about helping people create that big picture view and then work backwards from that to get where they're going.
It's so funny to me because I feel like as parents, that's what we're setting our kids up for when we talk about their careers and going to college or going to a trade school, learning a skill. It's to set them up for that future. But then when you turn that back on us as parents, and what are we going to do for ourselves after that? It's like, oh, I don't know. I'll worry about that later. Yet we would not accept that from our children.
Absolutely. And I think what you bring up brings me into a thought process that really matters to me. This is a very male dominated industry. And when you're talking about parenting, you're talking about mothering, what you're talking about is nurturing. And that's what I do. I nurture people's finances and I nurture their dreams and I nurture their goals. And women often bring a very powerful lens to financial planning. They think about long term thinking over short term wins. They think about emotional intelligence when they're making decisions. They come from that space and they just have a natural tendency to protect, nurture, and sustain. And so I think it doesn't necessarily make us better, but it does change the conversation because we're exceptionally strong at building resilient, values driven financial lives. And so your wealth isn't just grown in a vacuum, it is cared for, cultivated like a plant or like a child. So we help bring that to fruition for people.
And women too seem to hold experiences in higher regard than just show me the numbers. Men typically are like, look, I know I want to have this much money every month to be able to still go play golf. And that's really all that's important to them. But women are like, I don't want to travel. We're thinking about how our life experience is going to be and want to plan that way.
We're thinking about peace of mind. And that's really what you're talking about is feeling like you are capable. And then when you have something that's exciting and important to you, being able to accomplish that in some way, shape, or form. And everybody's dream is different. Everybody builds a different legacy. Everybody has a different goal. And some people want to die with nothing. Some people want to leave a huge legacy to those that they are leaving behind. And so crafting that uniqueness, I think women are really good at doing that dance. We're used to juggling things more than one thing at a time. And while data and graphs and all of those things are very important, and we certainly do that also, I do think that lens that we provide is very unique.
It's also incredibly important because we see so much now on television. I have friends who are attorneys, I have friends who are doctors. We always get into these conversations about, oh, you can go online and fill out this generic form and it will do your power of attorney, or you go to Amazon to get prescriptions now, or Google the doctor because you have hiccups or something like that. Those kinds of one size fits all that you find on the internet are dangerous to a certain degree. That's why having someone like you that I can sit down and say, look, here's all of the things. You'll help me make that plan fit me, not the 4 million other people who might Google financial planning.
Yeah, a template is just a template, but it's not a blueprint. And I think they're very different. And I think when you're interviewing, because you're interviewing a CFO for your business, the business of your life, and you should be doing it that way. I hear a lot of people get very caught up in loyalty. They've been with some woman or some guy for a very long time, and they are so grateful and thankful that this person made them money, grew their assets. Newsflash, that's their job. They're supposed to be doing that. And so what you really need to look for is someone who fosters alignment with you and who really digs deep into your value system and makes sure that they can help you grow and learn about your values if you're not clear on them. That's the important part to trust and to get involved in when you're looking and interviewing a certified financial officer for your life, because you're the CEO of your life. You direct where it goes.
And we don't often know what we don't know. So
Mhm.
having a professional like you that I can say, hey, this is what I want to do. And then you being able to say, well, have you thought about this or this? And suddenly I'm like, oh, wait, I had not even considered any of those kinds of things, really does come in handy when you're planning your future.
It does. It absolutely does. And I get to be there for milestone moments. I find that very gratifying. And I love being there for the birth of grandkids or graduation, loss of loved ones, new business ventures. Everybody's at a different stage in life, and you can bounce those ideas and those concepts about where you are again and where you're going. Like you said, the one size fits all is a myth, and no two lives are the same, and your financial advisor should not treat them as such.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about what that first visit looks like. Can we do that in the next segment?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to do all of that when we come back. We are on the Zooms today with Gina Hilliard. She is president of Luray-Page Chamber of Commerce. Her guest and chamber member today is Mandy Leeth. She is a senior financial advisor with Being Financial. We're going to learn more about that when we come back in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, what are you doing with your kids all summer? I can't do another screen time marathon every time it's too hot outside or I need to work.
Same. That's why I signed mine up for Typewriter Studio camps.
Oh, I've seen that place. In Old Town Winchester, it's cute. Art, right?
Yeah, but way more than that. Confidence, goals, history, culture, with real art educators. And different camps every week. My kids actually grow there.
Wait, what ages?
1st through 8th grade, June through August. Half or full day. And you can even stack with the Discovery Museum.
Okay, that's smart.
Starts at just $180 with sibling discounts, so both of yours can go.
Send me that link.
Already did. It's typewriterstudio.org. Oh, and use code FULLDAY at checkout for 15% off the PM camps.
Don't waste another summer. Have your kid explore, play, create cool art, and build friendships in a safe, creative space with limited class sizes and licensed teachers. Visit typewriterstudio.org and click Summer Camps. Use code FULLDAY at checkout for 15% off the PM camp. Additional savings for members.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Luray-Page Day, so we are on the Zooms with Gina Hilliard. She's president at the Luray-Page Chamber of Commerce. Her guest today is Mandy Leeth. She is a senior financial advisor with Being Financial. We've been talking about financial planning and the value of making sure that when you're done, whatever your job or your career is, that you don't have to necessarily be a greeter at Walmart, Mandy, so that you can still cover the mortgage or live life the way that you want. I don't know that sometimes people are able to wrap their heads around the full picture of what retirement might actually look like.
Sometimes when they look at their full picture, I think everything feels very major and very intense. And so, one thing I like to do is have a very simple initial meeting. Very simple, complimentary. The biggest thing we need to decide in our first meeting together with someone is whether or not we're a good fit. We're not just jumping right in with both feet and deciding that I'm the perfect financial advisor for you and you're the perfect client for me, because everybody's different and needs a different system and a different set of needs for each client. What I will often do is a complimentary fact finding mission. We'll sit down and we'll make sure that and when I say fact finding, yes, that can include your financial data, but most of the time we do a values exercise. We walk through the most important things to you and what we're trying to accomplish between now and when you retire, or hey, you're really close to retirement now and the end of your life. What are we trying to do? What are we after? What are our goals? Obviously, you hear me say that word a lot because it's the most important part of what I do. I work backwards from goals and I help you get there. I create a puzzle piece, a roadmap to make sure you reach your dreams. And that's what lights me up, gets me excited.
Those also change over time. So when I mentioned earlier, my son is 30, his goals, if he comes to sit with you now, might be one thing at 30, and at 45, something else, and at 55 or 60, something else entirely. This isn't something that's a set it and forget it in most cases.
Absolutely. Some people don't even need to move assets over. They just need advice for their 401k. We can educate you there and cultivate a relationship and then move into financial advising at a time when it matters, when you really need it later. Some people only need that low touch point. Some people need a very high touch point. They want more than just that annual review, and they want to engage in full-fledged financial planning. Again, that long-term roadmap to help you get to the end and die the way you want to die with a legacy you want to leave. Some people really like to have a very custom plan where they're meeting with me more often. I sometimes joke that I don't have any work-life balance because this is not a job, it's a calling for me, and I love it. And so what that means is I don't like to tell people I'm on call, but I do spend a lot of time working independently and individually crafting a very custom plan for my clients.
Money is such a personal thing. too. When we talk about how much we're going to have, none of us wants to have to depend on someone else as we
Mhm.
get older. I mean, I joke all the time that Josh is going to have to take care of me when I get to a certain age anyway. It's one of those things where sometimes people are hesitant to even talk about it, but then you have people that watch the stock market like
Mhm.
crazy and they want to know, hey, can I move this over here and maybe get myself a few extra dollars this way or that way? When you talk about having someone that you've been with forever, sometimes things do get a little stagnant that way because you're doing what you've always done. You're going to get what you've always gotten, as opposed to talking to someone who says, have you thought about just pulling a little bit here and
Mhm.
dabbling in this over there?
Absolutely. There's always value in a second opinion also. Often I'll have people that want to move their money and work with me and move their whole relationship. Sometimes we're just doing an a la carte style financial plan. There are a multitude of ways to work with me, and there are tons of different price points. I can go basically from 0% all the way up to 1.75. What that means is you can sometimes get me at no cost to you, and it just depends on what we're trying to do. And I find a lot of joy in that too, believe it or not, because I am a firm believer that what goes around comes around. You do what's right for people, you do the right thing, and you lead them where they need to go, and you're going to be rewarded for that. And so I have worked my business that way and firmly believe in that because I think everything needs to be custom. It's a living, breathing relationship and documentation, right? It's evolving constantly and it's deeply personal. You're right. Money is so very personal. And you touched on something that's a little unique that a lot of people don't think about. But if you look at the statistics, what you will find is the women are outliving men. And there is a huge wealth transfer that happens when women lose their husbands. But what often also happens is they've never met the financial advisor that's been handling their and their husband's finances. So they are in the dark about what to do next. They don't have a relationship usually with this guy, and they don't know how to navigate that, and they're very uncomfortable. And then they've not been educated along the way. So one thing I'm very proud to provide is that I work with a lot of widows and a lot of women who have been in that situation to help them navigate those spaces in a very kind and nurturing way because it is a huge life change. And you should be partnering with someone who understands that and who really does care about the outcome of that for you.
And to jump off of that point even further, so I will joke, my husband's going to roll his eyes when he listens to the show. I got him life insurance to the max. So if something happens to him, I'm going to live very, very well. I just want to say.
Nice work.
Right? Yes. But that's also one of those situations where, God forbid, something does happen. And now I suddenly have this large amount of money. That gets to be overwhelming too for someone who is very much been, okay, this is how much we have and this is how much we're going to spend. Having someone like you and having that relationship to say, what am I going to do with a $500,000 is
Mhm.
also very beneficial.
It's huge. And I think what you'll encounter when that happens is a lot of people will receive this windfall. And again, like you said, not know what to do with it or not know how to maximize their returns upon it or know what to do with it. They'll either burn through it very quickly because they don't have advice or they will save it and not go live the life that they want to live. But there's very few people that will do it in between. A lot of that has to do with those generational behaviors. I call them generational curses that we've picked up along the way. I always joke that my father was a hi, honey, I'm home dad. He was very traditional, and mom had dinner on the table. We came from a very traditional household that lived that way. But what that cultivated for me was a very strong lack of understanding how to manage my money because my daddy did it for me, and I was in my 20s when he passed. My mom was the same way. She was very young when she got married, and he handled all the finances. So it threw us into this emotional grieving state. And then on top of that, we didn't understand what we were doing with our finances. And I watched that play out for myself and realized I've got to do something about this in the world. I can make a difference here. I think when you look at how people spend and why they spend, and you unravel that piece for them, then they can understand themselves better. Then they can learn to manage their assets better and they can trust you to do it for them in a way that makes sense for them based on their generational spending and their basically it's behavioral finance, is what we call it.
It's never as complicated as people build it up to be in their minds either. I think some people think, oh my gosh, I can't do any of that. It's not that complicated when you have a system and a person that you can depend on to walk you through the process.
Absolutely. And that's why I use words like mindset mentor and abundance coach. I'm a thought leader. I'm an accountability coach. I love coaching people and looking at financial wellness. And that is different than just looking at data graphs, numbers, all of those things. Again, they come into play. They're important. I use them. But we're talking about a deeper relationship and solving problems as opposed to just looking at data and hoping there's an outcome.
So how can people get in touch with you? Someone's listening today and they're like, I have got to do something and today is the day. How do they reach out to you?
We have a website, and you can find myself and the other financial advisors that I work with. I work with two other wonderful women if you're looking for a female. And then I work with a CFP if you really want to work with a male, Jared Troutman. But you can find us all at www.being-financial.com. Being mean, be yourself, be who you are, be authentic, and let's go be amazing together. You be you, and together we'll be financial. So very excited about that. You can reach me via email at Mandy, MANDY, .Leeth, LEETH, @prudential.com, using that Prudential for the marketing there because they are the rock, been around a very long time. You can reach out to me at any time. I'd love to set up an initial meeting and just get to know you as a person and give you some free financial wisdom to take with you, whether you become a client or not.
Gina, I'm going to take all of my life insurance money and I'm going to start donating it all to charity. So do you need sponsors for events?
Absolutely. I can definitely help you out in that category.
What events do you have coming up?
So I have two. We have a Women in Business that is taking place on Tuesday, May 19th. It is going to be a lunch and a speaker. So it's from 11:30 to 1 p.m. Our speaker is Christine Kennedy. It's going to be a very engaging, empowering session. She is an award-winning leadership and life purpose coach. She is coming to talk about the power of influence and mentorship, communicating, leading, and thriving as women in business. So this will be a really good one. So mark your calendars, RSVP for Tuesday, May 19th. And you can RSVP to any of our events, either calling the office at 540-743-3915 or email us at events@Luray-Page.com. And then also coming up is our huge, big annual banquet. So it's always a big grand event anyway, but this year marks our 100th anniversary that we are celebrating. So the chamber was founded in 1926. So we are celebrating 100 years. And so this is our 100th annual banquet and awards taking place on Thursday, May 28th. Starts at 5 o'clock and is taking place at the Mimsland Inn. So technically last Thursday was our last day for registration, but we probably have some seats still available. Call, reach out, check to see if we do, or we can put you on a waiting list as well. So definitely call in or email us and then ask and see if we have any seats available, see if we can get you in for this grand occasion. Also, last Friday was technically the deadline for our silent auction donations, but we're extending that by a couple of days. So you have till about Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So if you do have anything that you would like to donate towards our silent auction, please contact us. Let us know what that is. It could be a gift card. It could be a gift basket full of all kinds of goodies from your store. It could be a trip if you have a cabin or a place that you would like to offer for a free night stay. So anything, that way we can include it in our silent auction, which is an extra fun time that everybody has going in and bidding and then to see if they actually win what they're after. But this will be a great time, and the main purpose of this grand event is to award 4 businesses and 1 volunteer of the year. So those nominations have already been submitted. Our committee has already met. And we have some very rewarding people that are going to be accepting those awards that night, and they do not know that they are winning them. So, yes.
And I want to point out, sometimes people hear the term waiting list and they think, oh, great, I have to get on a waiting list. I'm still never going to be able to go. But you just don't know what may happen. People could have bought tickets and COVID is still a thing. People can get sick. Plans can change. Somebody can get called out of town. Any number of things can happen that then open those spots up. So being on that waiting list is not a terrible thing.
Absolutely. And you hit all those right things. And I'll add one more. Sometimes our sponsors can't fill all of their seats either that they get. So they get anywhere from 6, 8, 10 seats available with their sponsorship level. And some of them don't have those all filled up by people. So if they happen to have 2 extra ones, then that's 2 extra seats that I could sell since they're not using them. So being on the waiting list and letting us research all those things to double check, there is probably maybe a good chance we could get you in.
So visit Luray-Page.com, best first place to go.
Yes, all the information for our annual banquet or any of our events, along with any of our members' events that are also on our website. Visit Luray-Page.com, and then they could check out any of that information, and then they can either email us or call the office for more details.
Mandy, thank you for taking the time today and giving me some insight into all the things that I probably should be doing and haven't.
You are welcome, Janet. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Gina, from the Valley Busiest Radio and the Luray Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak with you all today and just partner with wonderful women. I appreciate you.
Thank you for being willing to speak, as well as sharing all that great information.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, just a few minutes after noon. So meet me here then.